Hi, friends. Welcome to Soaring Through Chaos. And the reason I've been doing this series of interviews is to share about life and to learn from each other. These are challenging times with the pandemic in full swing. We never know who's going to lose life, what kind of things can go wrong. And on top of all that, there's the fear of economic loss and not having enough work and the finger pointing that comes along with that. So with me here today is a friend, Sheela Singhee, and I got to know her over the last couple of years, an amazing person who inspires me a lot. And I don't even know why. So we're going to find out together why I find Sheila very inspiring. So Sheila ji, tell us about your life. You can begin anywhere. We met last year when we went together to the retreat, Oktoberfest,
Yes.
last October. And it's been almost 10 months since we as a group, like 50 of us got together, isn't it?
Oh, I thought it was more. I thought this will be 2 years now. That's what
No,
I thought.
no,
Anyway,
no. It feels that way because of the pandemic. It feels a long time. That's true.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah,
So we are distanced in other ways also because of this
yes,
pandemic.
yes.
Time is warped in many ways. Yes.
Yeah, I
So
think the six
about
months had
me,
felt like 2 years.
yes, it felt like. So anyway, I am a very much a Nagpur person. So I lived in Pune for many years, but I am at heart. As I told some of my Pune friends, they said, you've lived in Pune for so many years, but you go on talking about just Nagpur. I said, you scratch my skin a bit, you'll see Nagpur. No, no. So, and it's like one big joint family. We fight, we bitch about each other, but we are all there for each other, which has helped me get through this phase, pandemic phase, by being in Nagpur. Had I been
Wow.
elsewhere, I may not have been in the same mental state as I am now. And yeah, so Nagpur, we were in a big joint family. My father, one of the very well-known figures of Nagpur, and we had a protected life. Plus, it was liberal, and there was a lot of this thing. We were a lot of music programs at home, shikar, going out for picnics, and we were encouraged to take part in many. So I came from, and I'm a Kshatriya, so totally non-veg, and then and convent education. and my father was in printing, so when he used to travel through productivity council, he traveled abroad, he would ship home whole lot of books. So that first love for me and for my children, which we inculcated, in fact, in that my husband too has a major hand, is that they have a love of reading, love of books and language and writing and creativity in that field. So even I love all that. So that was one big major thing. Then he had that, he followed that American adage, work hard, play hard. My father was like that. I didn't know that saying that time. But now I think of it, he was like that. Every Saturday, Sunday, we must have fun. So that love of fun, the love of books and reading, of education, of learning new things, I think it all came from him. And I'm like that. People call me, say you're a gigit chameleon. Today you're doing one thing. The next time we meet you, you're into something else. So you're doing something else. But that has added to my, I don't know, completeness or whatever. I enjoyed whatever I did that time, and I learned a lot, like that way. And then I married Marwadi. Total vegetarian. So that was one big challenge, adjusting, very orthodox family. So that was, but I adapt well to, I have changed about in Pune, between Pune and Nagpur, I have shifted about, and Khopoli, I have shifted about 12 to 13 residences. And everywhere it was different. We went through bad times, challenging times. Children were growing up then, and that phase of time with the education, the the matriculation, they're heading for that, and they're changing boards. We are changing cities, so they are changing boards and all that, but we've come out all right, fine on that. And Khopoli, where we stayed, where my husband had put up his factory, it's you've heard of Khopoli, right?
I
It's on
love
Bombay
Kupoli.
Pune.
It's right on the foothills of the Sahyadris, one of the
Yeah,
big mountain ranges of
but
Maharashtra.
we lived by ourselves on a big campus, and that my children really like hold close to their heart what time we lived there, because there was no other way of entertaining them, of they went to a school, but that education was not enough for me. That was not learning, that was not an education. I mean, it was just coming to know some information. It was not really learning things, and there's whole lot more. So we were by ourselves, our family, plus some cousins, and then the staff and their children. So there was no choosing which class of people you're going to mix with. You had to make do with and have fun with the laborers' children, the staff children, and whoever. Age difference also.
Which
so,
is
so my
fantastic.
children grew up. Uh-huh.
Which is
Yeah.
fantastic.
So that's why it is. Whereas in Nagpur, we were in a certain level, So I can't imagine them having picked up all those things here. I don't think they would have picked it up. So that was good. Then outdoors life, to entertain ourselves, we would go to some waterfall. There was a stream flowing by our house and a big garden. So we would trek up the hills and those kind of activities. And uh, they really had, and then I had to think of how they should keep in touch with the family. So what we did was one time when there was a wedding, they were quite grown up and their maid was very responsible. So we said, just the three of you are going to Nagpur for that wedding. We are not coming. You all go, meet the whole family, introduce yourselves and say that I am this one, and your Badima, Tauji, they're all there. They'll be there to introduce you. But go and meet everyone and say we are their children and introduce yourself. So we packed them off on the train from this end, from the other, and in Nagpur they were received. And then they met everyone there. So, and they missed school. I made them miss school. I said, doesn't matter, school to hote rahega, chalega, if you miss it. You have to be in touch with everyone. So then there were other people who had come from Calcutta, so they all came to know. So that was one important thing, that how you have to maintain your links with the family. Whether you may be in one corner somewhere, and that time we didn't have this thing of this technology, WhatsApp calling. We didn't even have a cell phone. I mean, we didn't have a regular phone. The Chuha would come and bite the thread, the wire off, because we had a flour mill in Khopoli. So
That's
there were
true.
lots of mice. And so they would come and bite so that we were not connected to the outside world so much. So that was a plus point for them. And then again, books and food. There was no restaurants, nothing. So I had to think of making things at home. So all in all, they really value that time a lot. They had, and I used to take them wherever there was something worth going to in Bombay or Pune. Pune, I had some relatives, and Bombay also. So I would take the Festival of Russia. School ko bunk karo, chalo
Oh,
jayenge.
was
Festival
that the House of
of France.
Soviet Culture Festival of Russia in
I don't know
Bombay?
who had organized it, but then I took them there, and there was a Cossack dancing, and then there was Festival of France at Chowpatty. So my brother-in-law, my Jate, lives just at Chowpatty. So we could see it from his house. Then Visarjan, with the Ganpatis
Ganpati,
reaching up to the fourth floor. I met them in school. I said,
V.
koi baat nahi.
Shantaram, the big one.
So all go there. So all Bombay and Pune. I used to take them to Pune also, not necessarily to bunk school and go, but whenever there is some weddings, because I had relatives, a lot of my Maika people in Pune. So going for weddings or birthday hai ya kisi, so I will take them and go. So they are in touch with at least one side of the family. So that was our life in Khopoli. And lots of visitors we would have, because my husband was the president of the Flour Millers Association, Roller Flour Millers of India, and also into fast this snack food, automatic snack food. So Italians came to put up the plant. Then lot of flour milling biggies would come there, lot of people from the food industry, and my children would get to be with them. I used to make them in our home. We are not allowed to put the food on the table; it becomes jhuta. So I used to make them serve. Every time a fresh lot of guests would come, it was somebody's turn. Even my son was also made to serve. So that time it was unthinkable, Ki, bete ko, why the son? So I said, no, all three will do it. So they would all be mixing with the guests, taking care of some of their needs and all. So all in all, it was a very good experience, I think, for them in growing up. So, and
So you're
then
used
we
to being
shifted.
quarantined then. You're on your own for the most part with a
Didn't feel
small
I was
community.
quarantined. I didn't feel I was quarantined, and neither do I feel it now, because if you have things to that you're interested in, that you can keep on doing this other than watching TV or going for kitty parties or things like that, clubs and all, you can be quite happy.
Yes.
Sometimes one feels, and sometimes it's sad when somebody's landmark birthday, 50th birthday, and we can't be there, and we are doing these Zoom meetings, and it's just not the same. So I miss the giving hugs and all to friends and family. Yeah. So that of course is there. But yeah. And you calling it chaos, soaring through chaos. Chaos means something which is not in order, disorderly. So I think some of our life before what you call this chaos was disorderly. Now
Yes.
we are putting it in order. We are choosing the things that have some meaning for us. We're getting the time and the seclusion to choose some of the things that will make you grow, to evolve, and to make your life more meaningful. नहीं तो पहले वो भागदौड़ के जिंदगी में वो we were not getting that time to sort ourselves out. Now we've got the time, so it is not really chaos. It is also some kind of orderliness, that what is meaningful, for what is important priority for us. The next person will have his own orderliness. I'm not saying so for me, it is a mixed bag for many of us, and I'm glad I'm in my own home. What happened with some people is they got uh, in a situation not of their own making, where the host is unhappy with them being there and they are unhappy. Each one thinks he's the burden. So there are people like that. And then I spoke to some, they were senior citizens, my cousin in Bhopal, and I said, how are you doing? Arey, we are stuck here. I said, you're in your own house. Why are you stuck? It's not called being stuck. If you're in your own house, you have the freedom to do the things that you are doing. Then I encouraged a lot of my friends who spoke this way about what to do, and in a very negative way. I said, what were your hobbies in school? Why don't you revive them? You have the time. You have a stamp collection stashed away somewhere. Take it out. All the countries have changed. Some countries have disappeared. Some countries have appeared. So you might find a heirloom over there, something, coins ho, to wo nikalo. If you were singing, start singing. Who's going to come and listen to you? Nobody's allowed to move out. So you'll be singing for your own pleasure. Same thing with art. I said, whatever you have at home, make do. The one thing that people were forced to do is cooking. So many good cooks emerged out of the woodwork
I'm one
because
of
there was
them.
no
I've
I've
never
just
cooked in
seen
my life.
lovely, yeah, I've just seen lovely pictures. I still have to sample it. So one day I will do that.
I'll come to
So
your home and cook Thai food or Mexican food. Yeah, this
Yeah,
pandemic changed
I
that
don't
for me.
remember which. Yeah, yeah. So now, and that also we have evolved a lot, because we were going out quite a bit to friends' places, and we were getting somewhat a variety of food. So now we have to start thinking, because we are at home. My husband is a vegan plus Jaini preference, no onion, no garlic, no non-veg, of course, and plus now for his heart, he doesn't have oil. It's only like almond butter and things like that, mostly vegan things. So we have experimented with so many things that literally anything and everything we can have with the help of a air fryer and some other things. We have really been very creative with that. But I hate cooking, let me tell you. I just hate cooking. But still, creativity was put in, and we managed to come out with lot of new things. So yeah, and so now you चाबी लगाओ थोड़ा सा तो मैं और बोलूं.
You know, this is what I find interesting. You and I both have so many stories to tell each other. And the good news is we speak all the same languages: English, Hindi, Marathi. You understand Gujarati, you understand Marwadi, me too. And there's so much in common. And yet we lived in different places and different times. And the very first time I met you, it was like an instant connect. It's like
Yes.
I met my Didi kind of thing, and we've been chatting. When we chat, it's like there's no end to it sometimes. So one question for you: you've done so many things which I consider are incredibly interesting and unconventional at your time. You must have gotten married in, I don't know, 60s, 70s, something like that, right?
75.
Yeah,
1975
and
or
it was very
25.
rare, given the conservative background that your husband was in. It was very rare to have so-called love marriages outside the community. And he's a Jaini, so that means
No, he's
vegetarian.
not Jain. He's not Jain. He's Marwadi, Maheshwari Marwadi, Hindu.
Uh,
But because of Krishna Bhagwan's seva in the house,
oh, okay, okay.
there is no onion and garlic. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're very strict
So
about it. And as you said, your cuisine is whatever moves
yeah.
or whatever is there. I mean, how was it like to be married by yourself, take that decision, I would think, and to adjust to this new family? Because you look
It
like a
was
very dynamic person.
uh, no, I was see, basically I think I was just saying that to someone. I said, because I was in Nagpur, I could bear it. Had I been in any other city with no friends and no relatives around, it would have been like very tough on me. But I could meet a lot of our friends were common. Being in Nagpur and having studied in the same colleges, we had a lot of common friends. So we had a very good set of people with whom friends with whom we would socialize over the weekends. So that was itself a kind of letting off some steam and some pressure. And there were other ladies who were in the same boat as me. So we would, that way, or I would go to my car, which is local. It's in Nagpur. So I would go there, and there was not so much of a cultural shock, like from one city to another. So
Yeah,
that helped a lot. Yeah. And having a lot of known people around me. So that helped a lot. And of course, the family members tried to make me as comfortable as possible. And then I told you, I'm very adapting. I love their food. Veg ho to veg hai, but food was good. I enjoyed all that. Then things like that. So that helped. Yeah. And one thing I forgot to tell you. Again, I'm feather in my cap is I have played hockey for India.
national level.
So international level. I'm a
Oh,
color holder.
wow. Wow.
I've played the World Cup in France. I went
Wow.
just
One
so
time.
that was a very good experience. And not that I was crazy about sports also, besides reading and all. So I had to play, and I was not very much encouraged by anybody, but just on my self-starter. Apna chalo khilna hai. So when and getting plaudits in college, talia and all always encourages, na, motivates.
Yeah.
So it was just university level, state level, India level. And then once I reached India level, then my parents, oh. So, yeah, so that was another thing I enjoyed. I love meeting people. So I'm meeting some because of hockey, some because of education, some in the social. You must have realized that in Oktoberfest.
Of
That,
course, of course.
yeah. So I love, even in Pune, when we shifted from here, my husband hardly made any friends. He's not that kind. But I made a lot of friends. And we left Pune about 18 years back now, or maybe. Some of my very close friends, 5 or 6 of them are in Pune. So that was the kind of bond I developed there too. So Pune is my second home, you can say. So that helped. Then um, about my children, I told them some other things also, like the thing when I was bringing them up, and which now they realize how important all these things were, and which they are doing the same thing with their children, because they realized the very meaningful things I had done is religion. Nowadays the children, they don't want any connect with religion, and especially with rituals. So I told them every ritual has a meaning. If you go back into Indian culture and look for the root cause, why this thing came up, you will find some reason why that started, which was valid at that time. It may not have any meaning now. Some of them have become superstitions. Like, just this is not a ritual, but a habit of cutting nails at night. I told them. People will tell you, don't cut your nails at night. Upshagun hota hai and all. I said, it's not upshagun. There was no electricity then. There were no nail cutters. You're going to go chop off your nails in the middle of the night in andhera, in the darkness, with a nail cut, with a scissor or something. You'll hurt yourself. Now, how to stop you from doing that? Put fear. This fear factor works a lot by many people. Gurus से लेके everybody puts gives you that fear factor. ऐसा करोगे तो दरिद्री हो जाओगे. I said that is not true. Look behind that ritual. Look behind. Then they started attending the aartis. When I told them the importance of Navratri, I told them the importance of the nariyal being placed in a particular way, why it is done. Then they started. I said, now my role is done. Now everything you find out. You try to get to the root of it. Why such a thing you are being asked to do? If you agree with that logic, you follow it. Otherwise, don't do it at face value. So some people call me a religious. They're saying you're putting them off. I said, no, they must know. They must follow something they believe in. And then only it is meaningful. Nahin to just mittu ban ke kya karna hai. So that is another thing. And the third thing I instilled in them is, marks are not important. Just see what you love doing. And I tell this to the mothers we have you've seen our multi-level, this society. There are about 80 families here. Every year there are some who have appeared for boards, and there are some who are elated with the results, and there are some who are down in the dumps. So I said, why? Find out what your child's passion is. Find out what talent your child has, where the two meet. If the passion and the talent meet, bas usko wo karne do. If he enjoys what he's doing in life, it cannot be held ki he will not be successful. Successful again has different meanings. I'm not talking of only money wise, obviously. I said your child will be happy doing what he's doing because he has the passion for it. So that was the third thing I told my children, that don't bother about. So my son changed his line went into automobiles and he's doing well. So
Yeah,
they
in
all.
Germany. Is he still in Germany?
No, he was never there. He's never studied abroad. My son is in Pune.
Oh,
He's
the one
Pune.
who is into crash testing and all that stuff. The one who is into
Not
this.
really crash testing, but he tests new launches, vehicles and all that. And
Oh,
he
so that's in
uh,
Pune.
he does
Oh,
comparisons between different vehicles, same kind of SUV or whatever. I'm very bad at all this, but three cars are launched by different companies which come in the same segment. Then he does the comparison. He'll drive each one, tell the plus and minus of each one. Then now they don't have a television presence. They are all online, like
virtual.
websites.
Yeah.
So he's got quite a following. I believe so. This I don't log on to websites for cars, but this is what I hear. So yeah, so
I
they're
checked
all
his site. He
great.
has a big following for comparison, and he compares cars around the world that are available in India.
So you can check on Zig Wheels.
Agrees. Okay. And I,
Zig
for
Wheels.
some reason, thought that he must be traveling to these countries because he has such deep
He
understanding of the cars.
he travels a lot.
He does travel.
Because of Corona and all, he's not going abroad. But now his shoots have started because most of them are outside city limits. They're in the
Yeah.
open. So, so now he's back on what he's fond of, driving the four and two wheelers. Yeah, doing that. So that is as far as my children and children go. What else? I told you in COVID times, like I used to call up. Um, I didn't bother to keep in touch with everyone, but I did try to reconnect with those people who I thought may need me to sort of, like I told some to start painting or singing. So I say I came to know some widows who were living alone, and I did know them earlier, but somehow oh, no distancing, that social distancing happened. So I lost touch with them. But then when I came to know through someone that, oh, she lives alone and she's got no one here, then I searched out the numbers of such people, spoke to them, tried to make them feel more positive about things, and put them in touch with other similar people so they could do some activities together, or at least, chat, put them in touch with this people who deliver medicines or food home, and try to make life easier in some of these ways. Nothing very, nothing very major or big, but in my small way. Shankar, you are
Yeah.
looking very tired.
No, no, no. I'm actually listening. I've become, believe it or not, for the first time in my life, I've become a better listener. So I'm actually fascinated with how you've been keeping yourself not only engaged in your own life, but you've gone out of your way to make sure that others are not isolated. And that's such an important thing to do. I've been
Yeah.
doing that myself by going and connecting with people. We hadn't talked since we met in October. We had talked only on the phone. This is our first video
Uh,
interview, and finding out things about you that I never knew, like you were a national and international level hockey player and all that.
yeah.
That's such a great way of celebrating life. You know what I mean? These are small things in the grand scheme of things, but these are things that make us who we are. And I'm really appreciative of the fact that you've connected so many people or reconnected with so many people. And when
Yeah.
you came and actually joined us at the retreat, we were both new to those people. Had met Komal before at an unconference, but you were new to even the idea of an unconference from what I hear, right? How did you decide to come join us at in this whole
Yes.
community of unlearners and all that stuff? And it was just a blessing to have you there. What made you decide to join us?
My younger daughter, the one who lives in Bangalore, she was homeschooling her son. And
Ah,
through her, I met a whole lot of homeschoolers, the community of homeschoolers in Bangalore. And I was very impressed with what lengths they are willing to go to bring up the children right, the way, like what we were forced to do in this corona times, give up back to nature and things like that. And more of creativity and out of the box thinking, and also I met a whole lot of them, and I was very impressed. So then when I came back to Nagpur, I used to conduct these classes for children. I shouldn't call them classes because actually they were nothing to do with the academics. I used to tell the mothers, don't expect that your children will get better marks because they're coming to me. I am not into that. I'm just going to open up their minds, make them think about certain things. Like if I tell them a story from, say, Ramayana, and I want them to know how to keep themselves safe, then I tell them even Hanumanji, Sita didn't believe Hanumanji till he proved that he has come from Ram by showing the ring. So you also have to be careful when you meet people that they are the right people. So this, like through that story I told, I connected their lives to the story from Ramayana, that how Hanumanji also had to prove that he is the valid person, the right, correct person to be trusted.
His ID.
Then, then I make them again think story might be old, but I said you think of a new ending to this. So the crow who's putting the pebbles in the vessel to bring the level up, I said there's another way he can do it without doing so much of hard work of bringing pebbles. I said, can you think there's a restaurant next door and you think what all is kept on the table, something he can use. So then they'll think, and then I make them, sometimes they are not able to come to the answer, get the answer. Then I said, he'll bring a drinking straw and he'll put that in the matka and he'll sip the water through the drinking straw. So I make them think of some new endings, so those kind of things I would be doing with the children. Then I also did a course on Coursera of storytelling for children, writing stories for children. So I made up my own stories. The reason I like these short stories of Enid Blyton is because they teach children some manners, some etiquette, some ethics, So I really like those. So some bad habits they have, and so they get sorted with those stories. So I made up one story about a grandmother who visits her son and the grandchild. Nani, say, visits her daughter and the grandchild, and he has a habit of sucking his two fingers all the time. And then on his birthday, she enacts a story with character drawn on her fingers. This is Dadi, this is the grandson. So then and everybody enjoys it. And then when she's leaving, he says, oh Dadi, I'm going to miss you, Nani, I'm going to miss you. So she draws her picture on these two fingers, which he puts in his mouth. And then she leaves and he's going to do this. And he sees, it's Nani, I can't do that. And it's indelible ink, so it stays on for some days. So he gets out of the habit. So, I wrote stories like that. I still have to see them in print or whatever, electronic media or print or whatever. I've got some stories written, which I tried to add to in this Corona days, but let's see. I need some, again, chabi marna from you. To say that, have you done it or not? Have you?
Yeah, when is the book coming out, right? No, it is so inspiring. Sheila, you have a natural way of inspiring. You are actually like the woman who took care of all the children. You are like the Pied Piper of Hamelin when we were at that retreat. There were like 15, 20 children. They were all following you everywhere. Remember, auntie.
Dadi. So, yeah. Okay, they used to call me auntie, but I used to tell them, I'm Dadi.
But they could not imagine you being a Dadi. They saw you more like...
That time, yeah. And, came out with these some small phrases, acronyms. So people who there are some people, about 40, 50 of them I message every day, and they are not good morning messages. They're something that, again, it's like poking. You know what you call
Jabbing.
poking? I
Yeah.
poke them. I said, have you recently written anything with a pen, not texting, not with your fingertips, but with your, so write something today or something like that. I'll tell them, do something. So a kind of challenge, I put something. And those groups of mine are called Kit groups. Kit is an acronym for keep in touch. I think you're on one
Wow.
of them.
Wow. Kid groups.
Keep in touch. So I have those groups. I said you're on my Kit group. So that is, I enjoy when I get their replies back, and they always think and give the reply. So that also makes me sort of involved with that person. It's not just, yeah. What
You know what
else?
I
Then
find interesting about your life, the way you're describing it? I can't even imagine, like many of us, including me, when things don't go right, we look at it as a burden. Oh my God, how do I go across this? One of the reasons I even call this soaring through chaos is like when things are unexpected, we go through like, oh my God, how do I cross this? But I know that one thing about you, and you have revealed it in many different ways. You don't see anything as should I say, you're not expecting things to be permanent. You're not expecting things to be a certain way. What I find interesting about you is no matter how much things are out of control, you'll find a way to make sense out of it. Is that true? Have you always been able to do that?
no, it's very difficult. It's difficult, uh, quite difficult. But then I have managed to cope. Like when I feel down, something, then I will either see some comedy, something on TV, which is the last option, or I'll put on some music, dance, your thing. I'll put on some, I'll put on music, or I'll talk to someone. There are one or two of my favorites who at once bring me out of that low mood. I do go very many times. I do go through it, but then there are solutions. There are some options open how you can pull yourself out, and yeah, it doesn't last very long. And so
That's
that
very
we have
nice
been
to hear.
managed. To,
And I
hmm.
mean, because did being a part of sports and doing all these sports activities help you with coping mechanisms? Because I see that big difference. Those who never have played a sport, for example, they tend to see it as victory and defeat. But in sports, it's always a
Yeah.
given that there's no guarantee you will win. So people get used to the idea of playing because you want to play. Did that make a difference in your life?
No, it used to be important to win. It used to be important, but then when you're going for a match, you've practiced all the season for with a certain goal in mind that you have to win. But then, yeah, you have to improve on yourself. Like
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
uh, yeah. So you realize that also, that today I made this mistake, so how to improve it more than the score. So, and if you have played well, and sometimes it's to lose, but there will be people appreciating the way we played. So that was also important. So yeah,
So
sports is a,
at this age, what is it that you are looking forward to? Because every time I have talked to you, there's always something cooking up in your mind. There's always some new project. Or there's always something to be excited about. What's getting you excited lately during these last 3, 4 months? One you mentioned connecting with people, giving them hope, and then connecting with old hobbies. And where do you see yourself going forward, irrespective of the pandemic?
I would like to write and see this in print. My grandsons, they are 7, each of them, they have requested. I see, earlier when my children were small, I used to do a lot of storytelling. So that
Mm.
time it was on this lap. Now it is on laptop. this laptop, the PC.
So from
So
the lab, we've gone to the laptop.
yes, so I send them voicemails and
That's
voice
so,
recordings with my story interspersed with some pictures picked up from these free sites. So I searched for
yeah.
them. So there was one about an elephant who had a massive cold. He had a massive cold and through his trunk, everything, so he was friendless and things like that. So I picked, and then he went to a witch doctor. So all those pictures and the story, and I made up my own story. So now I'm making up stories like that, and some which are favorites of my children. Like they said, "Mama, tell our children the story of Nanguama." And I couldn't, for the life of me, find it anywhere on Google. Nowhere I
Oh,
could.
wow. These
My
are
elder
classic
daughter
stories in
remembered.
Marathi, right?
And Jawai Bapucha Goshti, I love those.
Yeah, and you
Uh,
can't find them online. That's so
no, Jawai
sad.
Bapu, but this one was a Japanese folk tale and I can't find it anywhere. My daughter, the elder one remembered, the one in Nagpur, Kanishka, she remembered the story. So she told me, then I put it all up together with a lot of emotion, no pictures in that, just voice this thing. And my grandson, I don't know, but my son thoroughly enjoyed. Mama, this is the story we used to love. So
So
now I
here,
am trying to do
so here's a good
podcasting.
reason why you should publish it. A lot of these
Yeah.
actually represent our rich culture, whether it's Marathi
Mm.
stories or Hindi stories or whatever. And these cultural roots are really precious because that's what keeps us connected with our past and our ancestors and all. When I visited you, I now remember very well. You told me the whole story of the Gondwanas and the Gonds, the tribals, and
Oh,
and
yeah.
how they ended up becoming, the whole Gondwana club and where the Gond place was. And I actually traveled through Madhya Pradesh, the southern part of Madhya Pradesh. A lot of it was the Gonds and the whole tribals. And I would say, I know the story of Gondwana and all that. And they were
Uh,
amazed. Not many people even
yeah.
know these basic things. So you're in
Yeah.
many
But then
ways you're keeping the spirit of our ancestors alive. And that's a good enough
yeah,
reason to
that.
get it published.
But a lot of stories connected to Nagpur, so which come up on certain occasions like this. Pora. Have you heard of Pora? Where
Pola, yeah,
the
which is the
bulls.
festival of cows and bullocks
Yeah.
and all that, right? Pola.
But there is one particular tale, ritual, which is practiced only in Nagpur. It is Pili Marbat and Kali Marbat. So
Mm-hmm.
there was these effigies, huge effigies. One is supposed to be the Pili Marbat is the fair one, that's the Englishman, and the Kali Marbat is the local queen who was siding with the British at that time. So now they are made, they personify the evils in society, and people go in thousands and they pelt it with whatever,
With
to
rocks and
destroy
all.
those evils.
Wow.
घेऊन
Wow.
जा रे घेऊन जा रे कोविड घेऊन जा रे and हे घेऊन जा रे and corruption घेऊन जा रे, they'll start shouting and pelt them with. That is
It's,
typical to Nagpur only.
it's like the story of the scapegoat, but they actually have two of them, one representing the good and the other representing the things that we don't
Both
want.
these
Wow.
both of these are, so there are lots to Nagpur. So you need to come for a longer time.
I'll come. I'll have to visit. I was waiting, and then when this whole thing started. I was actually in Mexico when the COVID struck, and ended
I
up being there for
know.
3 months.
Uh, and I used to see the pictures on Facebook. Beautiful
Yeah, we
pictures.
even talked a couple of times when I was there.
Yeah.
I made it a point because I was alone and I didn't have any friends. So I ended up learning basic Spanish and now have like some 20 friends. And I'm even interviewing them, I'm talking to them. I'm reconnecting with my friends who are Spanish people in Mexico, and it's such an amazing joy. But likewise, I connected with my friends in San Francisco, in the United States, and lots of friends back home in India. And that gave me a sense of continuity, as you correctly pointed out. being an extrovert, it's not easy to be in a foreign
Yeah.
land, not know the language and all that. But within a month, I was up and running on Zoom and reconnected with lots of friends. And then I found friends over there in Mexico and learned more Espanol and a lot of Gapagosti, a lot of people with whom now I have friends again on Zoom from here to Mexico. But
See, all these years when before Corona started, I would be telling the children, leave your phones away. What is the use? We are here, sort of in three-dimensional. Why are you going into this 2D thing? We are there in 3D, so leave that. But now it's so important to
yeah,
stay connected. This technology has helped us a lot in these days. So it's not
yeah,
all bad.
not
Many
all
people
bad.
try to run but it's really helped us a lot. Zoom meetings and all. I have a very big family on both sides. Kanti's side, my husband's side,
Right.
and my this thing. We are seven siblings, and their children and grandchildren. So Zoom meeting is the chaos, and one has to try and soar through that.
Did you know that the people have come up with an acronym? In the old days, there was FOMO, fear of missing out. Oh, I'm not in this party, not in that party. Now there's fear of zooming out. Also, because exactly
I
as you
feel,
said, so we are in the stillness of your house and you have all the food you need. Let's say you have everything, you can take care of yourself. But then there's this desire to go out and you can't go out, so you go on Zoom, and then there's a chaos on Zoom. Then,
but yeah, but you can limit the number of people and do fewer
yeah,
people, or
yeah. I've
there
been
is
talking mainly one on
WhatsApp.
one.
And there is Duo, and there is WhatsApp video calling on which you can add people. So those are better.
Yeah,
Impromptu ones are better
you
than
like the
this.
impromptu ones more.
Yeah, that's more gets straight to what is happening in that person's life. This is very desultory. If there's no moderator, it becomes very unruly.
That's
The
true.
Zoom meeting.
Yeah, the moment you
So
have more
it's
than two people, then it can get chaotic very
yeah,
easily.
yeah.
That's the reason I'm talking mostly one on one. Mostly I'm talking to one person at a time. And I mean, it's such a delight to be able to reconnect with you, hear about your life. We did talk a lot when we met. We were together for about a week, I think, going from
Yeah.
Nagpur all the way to that place. Was that Sioni?
Jamunia,
Jamunia. Oh,
Jamunia.
that's right. We even made a song on that. Oh, Jamunia. Ah, Jamunia. Yeah, yeah. It was such a beautiful place. And I don't think I've met anybody from that group. I met a couple of them from Ahmedabad when I was traveling to
Huh.
Ahmedabad before the pandemic. But it's been a while since I talked to anybody in that group. You're the first one
Yeah,
from the Oktoberfest.
I spoke to them. Archana was one, and Pankaj.
Hmm.
I spoke with them also. The
Uh-huh.
ones.
So, I mean, I think that's a fantastic thing you have resolved that you're going to publish some of these books either in print form or maybe audiovisual. Audiovisual will actually be much easier and much more, like this. You could even do it using technologies like Zoom if you want to do it interactively with the children like this. You can have a Zoom call with maybe one grandchild and narrate the story and even bring out the puppets and bring out some of the videos and all
I
that.
have them.
Yeah, you have everything. So that way, one advantage of that, although it's in 2D, although it's in a flat surface, you're interacting with 3D objects. Like the way you
Yes.
show the finger puppets, or you can actually have the masks and all that stuff. And it's much more alive to have this kind of an interaction than just have text. More and more children are gravitating towards interactive things. You can always, somebody can even transcribe that and make a book out of it. You know what I mean? But this is much more
Yeah.
alive. This storytelling is far more alive. And I think just having stories like this could be half an hour, 1 hour, and saving them up, and then have a whole catalog of these kinds of stories may be the right way of doing it. That's my opinion. I'm no longer writing textbooks anymore. If at all it will be published, it will be more for record keeping. But the interviews are so much more alive. There's no way the book will capture the aliveness of the interview. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And I think it's necessary. People want to know, like, how, what happened. Like you and I are talking, this is much more alive. If your children watch it, if your grandchildren watch it, they'll say, hey, Dadi is here, Nani is here, and there's some real thing going on. The emotions, the jokes, the funny faces we make. Whereas
Yeah.
textbooks, as good as they have a different purpose now. Storytelling, I don't think will be the same anymore because of the aliveness that happens, Like my cousin
But
has recently, sorry,
I love to read, and I like the texture of the words, a different meaning for everyone. Whoever reads will
yes,
get a different meaning out of it, which may not happen on in
on the
this
live
format.
medium. Yeah, yeah. For example, it has been shown even in studies that if you write a book, then children's imagery, they can imagine things. You describe to them in words, and then through the words, they understand all the possibilities, and that increases their visualization capabilities and all. That is true. Whereas in this is a rich medium, so they're going to miss out on the visualization capability, but they'll see things and they'll consume it as it is. So it has a different purpose altogether.
So yeah, so that the options are still open. I told you I signed up for something on podcasting. I'm
Yeah,
something
that's true. A
reading
podcast will be just voice, and then the visualization that children have to do on their own. So
yeah.
this has the advantage
So
of seeing the expression, making funny faces, and interacting and fighting. Even the aliveness is there, but it won't provide visualization. But it will tickle their imagination. It will tickle them to think about, oh my God, so who is this person? And they'll start relating to you more humanly.
yeah.
But on the other hand, a podcast is definitely
It
books.
seeps in more into your memory.
Yeah,
This kind of an
this one
experience.
is much
You're
more
not
memorable.
likely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm a big fan of using mixed media. So yes, books
Mm.
have a place. So if I were to write a research topic, for example, using the whole idea of how do you deal with challenges in life, that was more likely to go into a book because um, I still have the idea that research should be published on a textbook kind of thing. But then some people
Yeah.
want to hear that. Some people want to know the stories of how people go through challenges. Then I'll have to recite it like this, using either
If you
audio or
hear
audio video. Sorry?
hearing something like podcasts and all, you can be multitasking. You could be doing some activity and at the
Yes,
same time you're
yes,
listening in.
yes.
So
This
that
one
is one
requires full
advantage.
attention. And then
Yeah.
the attention span is limited. People don't watch videos like this for more than an hour, for example. Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's so much richness in what you're trying to do, even, and thinking about the multiple options and all that. So I will be one of your first. If you create something like that, I'll make sure that it goes to a lot of villages. Definitely in India, maybe if it's in English, it can even go international. Because there's a rich need, there's a strong need for preserving all these tribal cultures, local cultures. What you're observing in Nagpur, it has the Gond culture, it has the Vidarbha culture, it has the Maratha culture. And instead of seeing them as in opposition to each other, they bring in, it's like a melting pot right there in Nagpur. And that's what we
Yes.
need to keep it alive. How the Gonds lived and how the Marathas lived and how the others lived. And there's the Hindi culture, there's the Marathi culture. So many, it's a confluence, isn't it?
Yes. And still, uh, so many are assimilating things from the other culture. So
Yeah.
uh,
One of the things I like
going.
about Nagpur, and I've never seen it, is Bijotsav. So you have the seeds coming from all around India. And tell me
But
more, have
now
you been to a
because of
Bijotsav? Right now, nothing is
But this
happening
year,
in this year.
because of the corona, they had webinars for
Yeah.
how to three sessions they had.
Uh,
I don't remember actually what were the exact what they dealt with, but did make others aware of it, those who went to farming and all. It was mainly of their interest. So they
Have you
didn't
been to a
actually have a
Bijotsav
Bijotsav.
before? Have you participated in a Bijotsav?
Participated as in put up something? No,
Have you
I've
been there? Have you
visited three
seen,
years in a
visited?
row.
Yeah, I've
Three
heard
years,
great.
yeah, 3 years.
I've heard great things about it.
Yeah, three years in a row I went. A friend of mine is into organic farming, so she invited me, and she had was one of the people who organized a farmer and artist and social worker. Um, what was the term they used? I don't know. See, the artist conceptualized the need of the farmer in the
Uh-huh.
art format. And the farmer grew those plants with various colors in that, like a
Uh-huh.
stencil, artwork stencil, which was a
Wow.
picture, which was actually a picture. So we had climbed up on a machan, on a high platform, to look down and see the whole thing. So there was one which showed how the farmer does all the labor and somebody else reaps the benefit by
Mm-hmm.
way of getting money. And there were 4 5 different artworks like that. So she
Mm-hmm.
was one who did it, and she used to put up in Bijotsav. She had a stall every year.
Wow.
So I attended 3 years in a row. Yes.
So we should do this more often, and I'm really enjoying listening to you, learning about Nagpur. Usually I'm the talker, and one of the big learnings I had, one of the big things that I got out of the Zoom video conferences is listening and learning from others. Otherwise, once I start, I won't stop. So I become a much better
I will
listener.
be I'll be viewing and listening to a whole lot of your other episodes I'm calling them, interviews,
Yeah,
which you
yeah,
put on YouTube, and I will also learn a lot from that.
yeah,
I've,
yeah. I talked to more than 100 people from around the world, mainly, of course, from India and in the United States, but again from very different, from somebody who's working on indigo dyes and cultivating it at home, to people who are into uh, organic farming, all the way to people who are building new technology like robots, as well as building this, what is it called, the biodiesel plants, COVID plants. Yeah, I keep learning by just being with people.
and it's
Now
so
I'll go and visit
enriching,
them. Huh?
enriching. It's so enriching.
Yes,
But I didn't want to listen. I didn't want to view a lot your
videos. Yeah.
interviews on this thing, because I said I'll feel small, and then I'll
No,
be trying to
no, no.
copy, and
It's
I
it's
try to.
so the variety of experiences is so much. Each one of us has a unique life, right? The idea that somebody's life is more important than the other is actually flawed, because if you look at the so-called famous people, there are hundreds of interviews of them. That's why I went out of my way to interview people who are not as well known, because those are the rare stories. It's like the stories you told me, the story of that two, the white, the good and the bad, or the Gondwana stories, or the stories of the villages around you, the Poda stories. You're not going to find them anywhere practically. The
So when
rarity
I
of the
told
story
people,
is what makes it special.
so when I told somebody that a friend of mine that Shankar is going to interview me because he thinks I'm remarkable, so she said, "Yeah, people remark on you, so you are remarkable."
And that's the thing, because how many people would have heard of Amitabh Bachchan? Practically everyone, and they have an opinion about Amitabh Bachchan too. So I don't think he needs another story, and I'm sure he's tired of telling his story over and over again. But how many people know of Shankar's story or Sheila's story? And that's the beauty of it, because there's something to learn from anybody. One of my friends told me when I went to the hostel, he said, there are 250 students in the hostel. You just pick one good thing from each one. Zindagi ban jayegi. Your life will be made. And you know what? I don't think I made learn from all 250, but I learned from 50. 50 was good enough. That's what I'm doing now. I'm listening to stories of people's lives, Because I'm always blah, blah, blah. So everybody knows about me. But I'm listening
So
now.
like I say, yeah, so I say like I'm a sponge. I take in a lot of information, and then it's something happens and I squeeze. I get squeezed and I don't know where all I spread that information. People may want it, may not want it, but they get it.
I get it.
So
And
they get
that's how hybrid varieties of seeds are created. That's how cultures assimilate. If there's one thing that is more infectious than corona, it is emotions and ideas and thoughts. So thought viruses, emotional viruses, and idea viruses are much faster to move than even corona. All you have to do is put it up something outrageous on Facebook, and then boom, it goes to the whole world. Right? Corona cannot beat that. Okay, so let's stay in touch. If you have any more
yeah,
things to talk about, we will do another episode. And to those who are
yeah.
listening, I'm always looking for interesting stories because we can share with each other. And I
Oh
know
yeah.
you have to cook for your housemate who is injured, so please give her
I
our
call it.
greetings.
There are many of us for whom BJP is very important. Do you know what is BJP?
The
Bartan
party.
Jhadu Pocha. No, Bartan
Bartan
Jhadu
Jhadu Pocha.
Pocha.
Yes.
So it's time for BJP now.
It's time for BJP now. Please give our greetings to the person who is with you, who is injured. I know she's a very kind person. I met her when I was at your home. So please stay in
Yeah.
touch and we'll be back. Say hi to BJP Bartan Jhadu Pocha and we will
Thank
definitely
you.
have more chats.
So you learn two things. You learn Kit Kit and you learn BJP. Okay.
Great,
Thank you so
great.
much, Shankar. I enjoyed talking to you. And yeah, it was
And
good.
we'll be in touch again. See you soon.
Yeah, we will. We
Bye.
will. Bye.